Welcome to the Dealer Playbook Podcast. My name is Michael Cirillo, and each week I sit down with the brightest minds in marketing, sales, and leadership to help you level up your career in automotive. Thank you so much for spending your time here with me today. Now let's open up the playbook. Here we go. Dude, has it already been a week since the last episode aired? Man, here we go back with another episode of the Dealer Playbook Podcast. And today, I think for the first time in Dealer Playbook Podcast history, we're diving into some subject matter with my guest, Mark Jennison, who, you're just going to get a really genuine look into his rise and fall and rise again, his comeback story. I think a lot of you are going to be able to relate to. I know I was able to relate to his story on a variety of levels, and just kind of came out of it, notes upon notes of ideas of things that I could maybe do to live a better version of myself, be a better version of myself, to bring my business to the next level. So I'm excited to bring this subject matter to you. We're going to dig in deep. Here we go. All right, I'm sitting down now with the man came highly recommended from several past guests of the show, Mr. Mark Jennison. Hey, man, thanks so much for joining me on the Dealer Playbook.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. I'm super stoked to be here. Can't wait to do this.
You know what? I, on purpose, didn't do any, I've seen you were on Be Less Typical, and you've been on a couple other shows and stuff, and I've seen the comeback and all these sorts of things. And it intrigued me, but I knew with all of the recommendations coming in, I was going to have you on the show, and I was just more intrigued about hearing the story firsthand from the man instead of, listening to it elsewhere. So I'm looking forward to this. I think, from what I understand, and by the way, this feels like deja vu. I don't know about anybody else. But, I'm pumped to kind of learn more about your message, because what I do know about being able to achieve anything and being able to achieve your definition of success and greatness is something that aligns really well with what I believe and with my philosophy. So I want to turn this over to you. For those that perhaps haven't heard your story yet, something that comes to my mind, especially when comeback is in the phrase, reminds me of past guests of the show, Dr. Willie Jolly, who said a setback is a setup for a comeback.
Absolutely.
So I want to turn this over to you. Maybe tell us this story, which I'm anxious to learn, and and then I wouldn't mind investigating or diving deep on how did you go from this comeback story, what we're about to hear, to where you're at today.
Excellent. All right. So, man, we could start all over the place, but I'm just going to narrow it right in on, since I was 14 years old, I started using drugs and alcohol, right? So I've been struggling my whole life with addiction. So that's kind of where we're just going to focus this around to get to the car business and what I can do to help people, what I'm trying to do. So 14 to 20, I was a party animal. Life was great, right? And lived down in Southern California, went and worked for a motocross race team. Life was good. Ended up developing a pretty bad drug habit out there, which brought me back home to Wisconsin. Okay, and that's kind of where I'm going to talk about in my 20s. I've been a millionaire twice. I've lost it both times due to the addictions. Okay, I've been broke, busted, disgusted. Turned a lesbian straight for a week. I mean, I've done some crazy stuff with my life, right? Just going to be honest.
Yeah.
But what's unique about all that is the whole time I did all these things, I felt. I put a lot of intention on the money, right? You don't just become a millionaire by not busting your ass and by working your ass off and doing that stuff. So my story is I came from the transportation industry. 2007, my uncle Steve died. He was my mentor. He was a guy that actually taught me how to drink when I was a kid at 14, but he also was like my go-to guy, right? And he passed away, and he had a trucking company, and he had one truck, and I took that company over 7 years from one truck. Actually, I started a new one because there was some debt stuff there. Mm-hmm. Had one truck. I turned it into 43 over 7 years. Wow. 78 employees, 3 giant warehouses where I did third-party logistics. I had huge companies that I did business for, right? I did everything I could do while having a $300-400 a day cocaine habit, strip clubs, party nonstop, right? I worked all the time, but I didn't take life seriously, okay? I was just a kid, right? Even though I went through all this stuff, I had I had a little boy, and that wasn't enough to change me. I went through divorce. I went to Jamaica. I went and slept out in the jungle of Jamaica for a while. I mean, I'd done some stuff, man, and when I write a book, it's going to be pretty amazing. But anyways, I lost the first company because I trusted some people, put some things in their name. Well, why would they want to keep somebody, right? They saw that I was down out. I was broke. I had $200 left in my name. I want you to know from the time I lost the business, my first trucking company.
Yeah.
So it was May 15th, 2013. I lost my company. My ex-wife took my kid from me. I was down and out. Didn't have any money in my name. Father's Day comes around June 18th. I'm with one of my best friends at the time. We ended up with the wrong girl at the wrong place at the wrong time. I wake up to find my friend dead, right? Wow. We were in the place. So that's kind of where this spiral is getting at. Like, this was my life. These were the things I was dealing with.
Yeah.
I got battled. I kind of battled back from there. I didn't have a job. I wasn't working. I ended up coming up with $200. Went and figured out how I could turn that $200 in to start another business. Had a guy help me. I turned that $200 into $6 million gross revenue for the trucking company inside of a year. And then I decided that it was time for me to get out of there. I was dating this model girl, and she showed me network marketing and maybe showed me some believe in myself stuff. I was getting clean and stuff at the time, right?
Yeah.
Ended up walking away from that business with some money in my pocket, and then relapsed again, right? Lost the girl, lost the money, lost everything. So as you see, there's a kind of a common theme here, man. I kept losing everything, right?
Yeah.
After I lost all that, I said, what do I do, man? For my first business, I owed the government some money.
Yeah.
I owed a lot of people. I was in a bad place. I sucked. I really sucked at life. I was down, out, broke, busted, disgusted.
Yeah.
I was at the gym. I got myself back to the point where I was sober, cleaned up. I remember it. I had this big, giant beard, and I was like in the gym, and I'm like, I need to get a job. Where do I go? And I started thinking about this one guy who, he didn't have the issues I had as far as the drugs, but he went to the car business, and then it brought him back to life. He was a house builder, lost in the economy, and it brought him back, and he did well. I'm like, you know what? If he can do it, I can do it. I went over there, actually called the dealership, another dealership in the group, to go there first. Not the one that I went to, but it was one down the road in Delavan, and they passed on me, right? They thought I was too good of friends with the GM. They decided that the managers didn't want me there, maybe some favoritism, whatever would have happened.
Right.
They decided to pass on me. I called the owner's son, which his name is Scotty Cunis, who's one of my best friends. He's actually the guy that saved my life later down the road. I'll talk about that. And he gave me a job on the spot. He said, get over here, whatever, I want to talk to you. Said, go home, get shaved, get something decent to wear, be here on Monday. So that's how I ended up in the car business, right? I mean, we could go on and on. Maybe sometime I'll tell you more and fill you in about all the how I actually ended up there, but it was pretty wild. So I come in the car business and didn't know what I was going to do. Didn't even know if I could sell. I mean, I didn't really want to be there. I'm like, dude, what am I doing? I'm now down to. I had the mentality of like, this is it. This is the car business. This is what I'm a used car guy. That's kind of where I thought I was, right? Not that there's anything wrong with that, but at the time, from where I was still not humbled by everything I'd been through. I still was thinking that I was better than where I really was, and that's not the case. They ended up giving me some Joe Verdi logins. I checked it out.
Yeah.
Great salesman. Didn't resonate with me though. I threw it aside and I decided I want to go sell a car. We had this giant sale going on. It was if it snows 5 inches on Christmas Eve, because it was right before Thanksgiving, then you get your car for free. So there were people just swarming in there. I'm like, oh, this is good. This is pretty cool. Ended up going out. I sold a couple cars in November, but December was my first real month in the car business. And it gets cold in Wisconsin, right? I mean, it gets pretty bad. And I remember we had a ton of snow. So I decided that I took lot ups my first month, right? And I sold 10. What's unique about that was the dealership was selling like 35, 40 cars, I believe, at the time. So 10 is pretty decent when you look at that number. Mm-hmm. I went 10, 15, 18, 22, 27. And that brought us into June. And what I did was I went and I learned. I took what I knew from building the companies, and I'm like, you know what? I changed my mindset. Got a hold of a little bit of Grant Cardone stuff that started shifting me, right? The power positive thinking, all these different things. I made the changes. Went on a good 6-7 month straight, clean and sober. Well, I started leaving the Saturday meetings with $2-3 grand in my pocket.
Wow.
One thing led to another, and Next thing you know, I'm back. I'm in the strip club. I have vivid memories of what I was doing there, right? And so the relapse, it doesn't happen overnight. It started probably in April, and then by July 12th, it was or June 12th. My birthday's actually June 10th, but on June 12th, everything came to a head. I was in full-flown back relapse, using drugs. Couldn't use without it, sick, drinking nonstop all day, right? I mean, I traded everything. Yeah. And here's the crazy part. I think I had out like 18 cars by July 12th or by June 12th, before I went into rehab. So that's how it actually happened. I ended up going in. They brought me in there. I was out in a demo. They brought me in. They sit down and say, "Look, man, you got a lot of talent. You're good. You've done some amazing things in your life. Either you get help or you're fucked, right?
Yeah.
Go walk away. We're done with you. Wash our hands of you."
Yeah.
What do you say? What do I say at that time? I said, "Okay."
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Just like that. Okay. Yeah. But I'm not done yet. So what they did. I'm a pretty wild guy, man. So what they did was
I don't get that sense at all. I mean,
I love when I say I partied. I love the party.
Yeah.
I wasn't done yet. I was going to get sick. They gave my actual manager, his name's Ron Hutter. He's a great dude. These guys are like my family. I love them. They let him take the day off. He got to take me. They kept me drinking. He let me stay. I drank all the way up to the next morning of going to rehab. I went into rehab on June 12th. I blew a .367, I believe, and I failed everything on the drug test besides marijuana.
Wow.
That's where I was at.
So, I mean, you've had some life experience.
Right.
And you've been in some pretty dark places. And what I find intriguing about this is I know that there are people in this similar situation who are still at a point where they don't know how to break free from this. So what fascinates me about this is, you know, that this comeback story, though it's spanned, you know, I don't know however many years, but it spanned a time period.
21 years.
21 years. You've had some ups and you've had some extreme downs and you've had some ups agains. And now, you know, what we can clearly see in front of us. I mean, I don't see any whiskey bottles in the background, no. You know, to go from where you've been to where you are now, to the individual listening in that maybe hasn't gone to that extreme, but is kind of battling some demons. What was it for you? What was the shift? Like, how did you kind of ultimately break free? Was it support from others, or was there something in your head going, you know what, dude, I'm better than this?
So I went into rehab, being the salesman that I was. I talked myself out of there in not enough time, not even against medical absence, with a diploma, right?
Oh, one of the biggest. They gave you diplomas.
Yeah, it's not really a diploma, but they gave me something, and I got to leave with it. I got out of rehab. The dealership sent someone to come get me. They brought me back to the dealership. I sat there for probably 4 or 5 hours, scared of what was going to happen. They gave me some money. They gave me a truck. I made it into town. Didn't have a cell phone. I mean, I could get into that story how I didn't have one, but it's not a pretty one. I made it into town. Stopped to get a cheeseburger. Somebody sat down next to me and bought me a shot. I took the shot. I relapsed in 6 hours. I went from there, because I immediately let myself down.
Yeah.
That I went on the worst 8-day binge of my life, because I let everyone down. And this is when the shift happened of when I was ready to quit, right? So inside of rehab, to actually answer your question, I was laying in my bed. I was laying on this piss-soaked mattress. I'm sure it's been pissed on a million times. It's got a plastic thing, you know.
Yeah.
In reality, it's a lot better than jail or being dead. But but I'm laying there, and I got this old man next to me, and he's
in a different bed.
He's in a different bed. Yeah, we're not in the same.
Cool.
We're in cuddle. There was none of that. And he's scratching his ass, and he's got scabies or some sort of, because he's sick, right? He's sick. Yeah. I don't know scabies, but he's got like this. And I go, this is my life. And I roll over and I grab the Bible and I start crying and praying. That's why I'd always walked with God. I'm not going to get too into God right now, but I always walked with God. Right then and there, I said, I can't do this alone.
Yeah.
Even though I relapsed after that, That was a defining moment that I knew that I had to give in. I knew I was beat. I believe when I got out, I had to go through that to bring me to why I'm sitting here with you right now. After I went and begged for my job back, after the 8 days, I went down to Florida, got myself cleaned back up. I came back. They made me start over completely in the dealership. I didn't have any shoes. I had no phone. I had no electricity in my house. I had no food. I had no money. I didn't get to see my kid. This is all self-inflicted, so I take full responsibility for it.
Yeah.
Came in. I had nowhere else to be besides the dealership. I sold 90 cars in 90 days, and I ended up pushing to a 35 a month average in a town of 10,000 people. And I started giving my time to help people. I had to get to the point where all of a sudden what was good for me to help me was actually help people, which is kind of where we're at now. So I went into rehab good and came out of rehab great. Or I should say came back to dealership great. And that's when I decided that sales and the car business is for me.
What do you think causes people? Because I think you and I ride the same wave in that, I personally believe that people are inherently great. We're born great. But then things happen to us and we forget that. What do you think? I mean, what's the easiest way for somebody to kind of snap back into check and get focused and start working towards their definition of success?
It's all a decision, man. It's what it really boils down to. I mean, I like what you just said there, because I have a little 6-year-old boy, and I look at him and then I think about myself. I don't know myself when I was 6 years old, 5,
right,
4, 3, however old I was. But do you think that my parents, my grandparents, their friends ever looked at this baby and thought he was going to be a junkie, or thought he was going to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They wish, they want the best for it, right? So where did I make that turn?
Yeah.
I made the decision to make that turn somewhere along the line. I can't tell you today when I made that decision or how, or I didn't ask to be the addict, I didn't ask for that stuff, but I made the decision. And right. I believe that if you want to snap on something, it's the same thing. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be easy. You have to make the decision, and then you have to be willing to put the work in. You have to believe it can happen. You have to be willing to put the work in. And that might mean go to rehab. That might be stop cheating on your wife. I mean, there's so many different things, right?
Yeah.
That you have to. The decision is what's changed my life every time.
And this what's interesting to me, I've brought this up on other episodes of the show. I read an article a few years ago about how people don't necessarily know how to set goals to achieve a change. People say things like, "Oh, I want to lose 20 pounds," but they never consider what actually goes into losing 20 pounds. And so the article is all about how the average cutoff of when people give up on their New Year resolution is January 18th or something. We're 2.5 weeks into the month and they're like, I'm done. And they never consider that. So, yes, they made a decision. Hey, I want to lose 20 pounds, or yes, I want to change my life, or yes, I want to achieve greatness. But where do they go from there? I mean, so I've made the decision. What's the next step? I mean, for you in your journey, what was the next step? I made a decision. I wanted to change. I had a desire, the willingness. But where do I go from there when the decision kind of gets muddied, and foggy?
So for me, when I made that decision, I was able to put the weight on. I was able to make it so I could think of sitting there suicidal, right? Leaving my son without a dad, laying on the bathroom floor shaking. Okay, so all these things, but I was able to look at it from the bad stuff that I never wanted to go back to, and I believe that I could do better. Okay, so I believe one of the things that you have to do every single day is take some sort of small, constant, daily action. Every day is not going to be perfect, right? We know that, but you have to believe you can do it. You have to show up every day and you have to do it. And you just have to never give up. I mean, I really believe that it's, I have some people here in the local AAs and NAs that talk shit about me. Mm-hmm. Because they're like, oh, look at this guy. He comes out here. He just got this big mouth. He's running, he just thinks it's that easy to quit. And he goes and starts up another business. And well, it is. Okay. Maybe my skill set and my gift that I had is to do what I'm doing so I can help more people. But I believe that people, I guess I keep talking about addicts, but I believe that anyone that concentrating so much on fixing problem, they almost become addicted to the problem, right? And you have to be able to believe that it's not a problem anymore.
Well, the thing that's coming to my mind is in the car business, especially when it comes to sales trainers or subject matter experts, it always comes down to this one thing, which is, hey, do my program and I'm going to teach you how to sell more cars, move more metal, make more money than you've ever made. And I think people get so asphyxiated on this idea of money that they forget about the things that are actually important in life. And so what I'm finding kind of refreshing here is you're actually more focused on the really important things in life, because you've come from a place where you understand, if I can do those things well, it's going to have a positive impact on the other facets of life.
Everything that I do, right? It starts for me. I don't know what the other trainers do. I don't pay attention. It's just kind of not my thing. I mean, the big ones, obviously, I watch them. I know what they do.
Yeah.
But I know where I'm at. I'm a real person, and I'm coming through all this stuff, and I'm still on the ground fresh. So if there's something I can give and I can actually help these people with, I can teach them to move more metal, sell more cars, make more money, whatever. But I truly believe that I'm giving them a way to overcome whatever's holding them back. It might not be drugs. It might just be their mind, right? So I think that there's just so much more to training and helping these people than just teaching somebody the puppy dog clothes, or or whatever type of clothes you need to be, or telling them how to do it. I think you have to show them, and you actually almost have to nurture them, and almost like a baby, help them grow a little bit, and then let them on their own, and it's gonna change for them.
What's funny about this is I mean, the analogy of a baby, right? And going back to what we were saying earlier about, because I think we are born inherently great. In fact, I have a sister who's a healthcare practitioner. I call it voodoo. There's other, acupressure and craniosacral and all these sorts of things. And I asked her once, I said, hey, look, I mean, we know the stress that a mother goes through during the birthing process. What about the baby? And she says it's an intense amount of stress on the baby. And I mean, the death rate of newborns is so severely high. That's why they call it the valley of the shadow of death. They pass through this, canal, and their heads getting squished together and all these sorts of things. And so I said, you mean to tell me that my first experience in life, and yours, and pretty much everybody that I could have a conversation with, is passing through an intense trial and rising victorious, like being successful? And she's like,
never thought like that.
Yeah. And it reminds me of this, because then what happened? Like, my first experience in life is succeeding, rising above something. But then in my own life, fast forward to I'm 3 or 4 years old. We're in a friend's swimming pool and I almost drowned. And, breaking news on the dealer playbook, I didn't learn how to swim until I was 17 because I was deathly afraid of water. And so it reminds me of what you just said, because maybe it's our mind that's holding us back. I think we're born great, and then all of a sudden we have these experiences, or we suffer loss, or we suffer a challenge and feel like we're failing. I mean, is that what you're observing? Does that play into this mix? Like, people just feel like they're failures all the time?
You hit the nail right on the head, man. I get that. I talk to probably 100, 150 people a day, and I would say probably 70% of them deal with that. They feel like they're failure, they're not good enough, their own minds are what's holding them back.
And so what do you tell these people?
Basically, so I kind of go through the story. I believe that if I can do it, they can do it, right? I think that somebody, so I'll take a guy or a situation I was talking to the other night, right? He's not struggling with an addict. He just doesn't believe he can sell cars, right? Mm-hmm. I said, dude, I would gladly start with your platform that you have. Like, you can't, I try to turn it around and let them see the positives that they already have in their life. Yeah. Point out, let them get some positive, and then put it back on them and let them realize that, hey man, you don't really have any problems. Even my problems, there's people that have way worse problems. So let's concentrate. Let's double down on what you're good at and forget the bad. We'll worry about that later, but let's build some confidence in you right now. Yeah. What can we do today that's going to make you more confident? It's going to help you sell more cars. It's going to help you be a better husband. It's going to help you be a better dad, or whatever it may take, right? So for me, I just like to break it down. And I hope when someone gets off the call with me, they feel good about themselves. And that's basically all I try to do, man.
You're reinstilling hope into people.
I'm selling hope, man.
You were saying that, and I'm thinking, you know, I've even found in my own journey, because, you know, I didn't go through some of the things that you've mentioned, but struggled with severe depression and suicidal and all those sorts of things, and overcoming that. And it was funny because I remember somebody doing kind of a similar exercise with me. They had me list out all of the things that I was good at, all of the good things going on, just kind of to shift your paradigm and help you realize, oh, wait, things aren't actually as bad as you're making them out. And in the beginning, it was funny because they'd say, okay, what are you good at? Or what's something that's good going on? And my mind was so like stuck to the negativity that I was like, oh, well, you know, I could be really awesome at this if only I could get rid of it. Like, you know, your mind just always. And so what I realized is, whether standing in line at Walmart or the grocery store or in the movie theater, we have somehow been so trained to only focus on bad things. I don't know if that's mass media. I don't know if it's the newspaper that perpetuates the bad news, but everybody's like kind of walking around like these zombies. And so what I love about what you're saying here is the fact that, hey, wait a second, pause. And maybe do this for those of you watching or listening. Sit down, grab a piece of paper, and list out like what are the good things I've got going on? What am I grateful for?
Right.
And
gratitude list.
And why are you grateful for these things? Like, because I mean, it's easy for people to be superficially grateful. Oh, I'm so grateful for sitting down here and talking to Mark. Okay, but why? You know, let's explore the why of that. And it's funny what happens. It just triggers this different emotion or feeling, you know, causes you to start seeing things in a different light. And so I think that's super powerful stuff, especially for those of you listening or watching that might be experiencing that feeling of like being trapped or that you're constantly failing. One thing I say, I've had this conversation with my team and with people that I talk to. I say, you call that failing? Dude, that's what success looks like as an entrepreneur. You know, right. Like failing is succeeding, you know, as long as you don't give up.
Absolutely.
So, you know, you're working with these individuals. One of the things that I really appreciate about your take is, hey, yeah, I can teach you how to sell cars. Like, it is what it is. I know how to build business. I know how to, you know, increase, you know, have monetary gains.
Right.
But let's focus on the things that are most important to you. Being grateful, humility, relying on a higher power. I mean, is that part of it? Acknowledging a higher power? Do you think that faith ties into?
For me personally, faith ties into everything. You'd be surprised how many people already know my story. Then they bring it up, and then yes, it does. I try not to bring it up too much, not because I'm ashamed of it, because I'm proud of what it is.
And people are very opinionated.
Some people don't know how they want. Right? They didn't. I don't want to upset them or whatever. But one of the main things that I really focus on for me and that I try to pass on to them is their why, right? I'm sure you've had a lot of people think about this and talk about this. For me, that's the one thing that kept me going. So I missed that earlier. My why is so intense for that little boy. You know, when I write my book, I will write why he's so important to me, because there was a bunch of other shit that happened in my life with his mom, that why he is here, right? And I never want to let him down again. And I know that I really hurt him over the 6 years. He doesn't know the difference, right?
Yeah.
But he does. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's so attached to me at 6 years old. He's on my ass nonstop when he's with me, because he thinks he's going to lose his dad. He doesn't subconsciously know what's going on, but the point is I keep him at the front of my mind. I'll drive past 10 bars on the way home tomorrow or whenever, right? And I think about going to every single one of them. But then I think about my kid, and I keep such an intense passion on my why and the purpose of why I'm doing it. I had a great life. I've done some amazing things. I'm going to have a great life again, but I want to experience it with him. So for these people, what I try to put on them, maybe their why is not their son or daughter or family. Maybe it's them. Maybe it's looking in the mirror at the end of the day and being like, I'm being the best fucking version of myself that I can be today. I'm going to do whatever I can do to make it happen, and that's why I'm going to succeed. And success is so different on so many levels, but the why is the main focus that I mean, probably for you too. I mean, I'm sure you've thought about it.
Yeah, I call it I learned this from one of my mentors. He says you have to have a 99.9% reason why. And I was like, what does that even mean? I've heard about a why and all these sorts of things. And he said, well, every day you're going to be faced with 80% obstacles and 70% obstacles and 90% obstacles. But if your why is 99.9% solid, that's going to give you kind of the staying power to overcome those 80% obstacles and the things that you face in your life that would typically pull you down if you had no clue why you were pushing.
Exactly. I mean, you have to keep some sort of vision, some sort of burning desire in front of you to why you get up and go through the days, and why, so the why gets even deeper, right? So for me, it's there's so many things that I've seen such a shit hole in my life, right? Yeah. That for me, I want to go back. I hate talking a bunch about myself, but I can only tell you from right here in my heart.
For sure.
That the reason why I get up every day and I help people is to help my son. It's like you said earlier, how it just kind of goes. It's not like, about me.
Yeah, that's where. Well, and that's kind of and that I think that was a perfect way to sum up the take. That is my take. My take is that I know that what I'm doing is helping my why. It's like this full circle just happened.
Exactly. That exactly sums it up.
So, how do we get people to stop thinking so much about the freaking money and start focusing on the things that truly matter?
I'm struggling with that every day. Not for me, but for some of the people. I don't believe, for some of the people, the money might be the why, right? I mean, you sure. Don't know. You can't tell somebody if that's what they're in love with, that's what they're in love with.
And we're not saying anything's wrong with that. I mean, to each their own.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
I sometimes feel that when you think so much about the money, you're almost in like a contraction mode, right? Like, because you're scared. I think if you can get rid of being scared of making the money and actually go out and fucking do something, and if you put your effort in and you work 10 times harder and you show up every day and you take more ups and you make more calls or you do more podcasts or whatever we got to do to do it, the money's gonna come, right? It's just when I fully believe, for me, on this next business that I'm building right now, when I stopped thinking about making money, because I left a couple $100,000 job to go do this, right? Yeah. I think I was going to do like 280 this year, and I left to go do this, right? So my first initial thought I had to train myself was the money. Like, am I going to make any money? Am I going to be okay? I'm going to be okay. I said, fuck this. I am going to be okay. Even if I'm not, I'm going to figure a way out. I've been in worse situations. I'm going to work through it. And that's what I kind of get people to try to realize, is that no matter what, there's so much money out there that if you just forget about it, so you can go get it somewhere else, right? As long as you do the action, you do what's right, you don't rip anybody off, you keep your ethics in, the money will come. But there's a lot of guys I deal with every day that's all they want. My little brother's one of them.
Well, and I think, like you said, it's because they're scared of the lack of. And so they keep calling forward the lack of, not realizing that, like you said, hey, how about you just get out there and do something?
Just show up.
Just show up. Well, it's funny. I have this conversation with a team member of mine. He used to work at a car dealership, and his manager said, you know what, buddy? You see that chair over there? That chair, just by virtue of being in this office, will sell 6 cars this month. From just laydowns, right?
Exactly.
And he says, so if that chair can sell 6 cars, then you just need to show up to sell 6 cars. So that's funny. And I like what you're saying. I think too many people are so focused on the money that they do contract, and they don't realize that they're contracting and they're spinning their wheels. So what I love about the message today, for those of you watching and listening in, I mean, this is the real deal. This is life. Mark's story is powerful. It's his journey. He's embraced it. My encouragement is for you to embrace your journey and to strive to be the best version of yourself. Don't sit here, keep beating yourself up. Get out and do something. Do some good. And as you do good, it's going to positively impact every facet of your life. So, Mark, man, thanks so much for joining me on the show. How can our listeners or viewers get in touch with you?
You can find me. The easiest way is go to my website, markjennison.com, or the comeback-academy.com. That's where all my training programs are. The things that I offer are there. I'm also super active on Facebook, man. As you know, you messaged me that day. I instantly responded back. Since I've been sitting here, I got a bunch of messages I have to get back to. But Facebook, my website, email, whatever. It's mark@markjennison.com, man. I mean, I'm a very, very easy guy to get a hold of. Come on to my house if you want. I don't care.
So I think we could all agree that Mark's done some living. And, you know, I think each of us have our own comeback story. Maybe some of us are, you know, in the middle of that journey. Some of us are probably feeling like we're failing. Some of us probably feel like we have failed, or we're in that downward spiral. Maybe things aren't happening for us the way we thought. Maybe I'm not selling enough cars. Maybe I'm not making enough money. Maybe I'm not as happy as I should be. And so what I really appreciate about Mark's message is, yes, he's got his version of a story. It's his story. It was his journey, and he's still on his journey. But what I love about it is that I can relate. There's aspects of that. You know, obviously I was not a big partier. I mean, I was the kid who like sat in the corner at his own birthday party type of a deal. Okay, maybe not that extreme, but you know what I mean. And, but you know, there's elements in there. What I really love about this message is it's surrounding the concept of the philosophy that as you help others, you will be helped. So give more than you take. Yes, taking, it kind of came full circle. If you heard, there is a time when taking happens, but it kind of happens naturally. And so what I would submit to you, the big takeaway for me is help other people. Be a good person. Be the best version of yourself that you can possibly be. And don't give up. So if you want to connect with Mark, he's got a lot of cool things going on. Check out the show notes, www.thedealerplaybook.com. And until next time, guys, keep the playbook open and dominate.